You've been here before. That moment when everything you thought was stable starts to crumble. The plan that was supposed to work doesn't. The person you trusted leaves, and suddenly your mind becomes your own worst enemy. You tell yourself to stay calm, but your heart feels like it's collapsing in on itself. You try to breathe, but every thought feels like fire. In these moments, we don't need another motivational quote. We need an anchor, a philosophy that holds steady when everything else falls apart. And that's where the ancient Stoics enter, not as saints who were immune to pain, but as warriors of the mind who learned how to live through it. Scene shift. The sound of rain fades into a quiet hum. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, faced wars, plagues, betrayal, and the slow decay of everything he once loved. Yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It sounds simple, too simple. But this sentence, this one idea, was the foundation of a life that refused to be destroyed by chaos. The Stoics believed that calmness is not a mood, it's a discipline. It's not the absence of storms, but the ability to walk through them without losing yourself. Cut to slow-motion imagery. A man walking through a crowded street, chaos around him. When life begins to unravel, most of us instinctively reach for control. We try to fix everything. We overthink, overanalyze, overreact, until we've exhausted every ounce of mental energy trying to hold together a reality that's already gone. But the Stoics whisper something uncomfortable. Let it fall. Not because you don't care, but because fighting what's already collapsing only drags you down with it. This is the first lesson of the Stoic way. Accept what is outside your control, not with resignation, but with courage. Epictetus, once a slave, said it with brutal clarity. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He understood that calmness is not passive, it's active resistance against chaos. To remain calm when everything falls apart is to take back your agency, the only thing no one can strip from you. When your relationship ends, when your career burns down, when the world around you stops making sense, you still have this, the ability to choose your response. And that single choice can transform destruction into rebirth. Scene. Soft music fades, voice deepens. But let's be honest, calmness sounds noble until pain enters the room, until your heart is breaking, your hands are shaking, and your thoughts are screaming at you that it's over. This is where Stoicism stops being theory and becomes survival. Because calmness is not about pretending everything's fine. It's about sitting in the ashes of what once was and still whispering, I am not defeated. It's about learning that pain does not mean failure. It means you are alive, and being alive means you are still capable of growth. In a way, the Stoics were psychologists before psychology existed. They understood that our suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about them. When you lose something, your mind says this shouldn't have happened, but reality says it already did. And every time those two clash, you suffer. The Stoic practice is to align your mind with reality, not to surrender, but to flow. Like a river adapting to the rocks in its path, calmness is the art of movement, not stillness. Scene. Historical imagery, philosophers writing by candlelight. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He was right. Most of the pain we feel is anticipation, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of what people think. We rehearse tragedies that haven't even happened yet. This is the second Stoic lesson. Do not live twice.
once in the event and once in your mind. If you can master your imagination, you master your peace. When your thoughts spiral, when you start to drown in what-ifs, stop and ask yourself, is this happening now, or am I inventing it? 9 times out of 10, you'll find that your suffering lives in a story that doesn't exist. Scene: cityscape turning into calm sunrise. The Stoics also believed in premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. They would intentionally imagine loss, failure, even death, not to become pessimistic, but to strip fear of its power. When you accept that everything you love can be taken, you stop clinging. And when you stop clinging, you become free. That's the paradox of calmness. The more you let go, the more you can hold. The less you try to control life, the more control you actually have. But let's take this even deeper, because calmness is not just about endurance. It's transformation. Nietzsche once said, one must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Chaos isn't your enemy. It's your raw material. The collapse you fear is often the very thing that breaks the illusion of control, and from that break, something truer can emerge. When your plans fail, you're forced to confront who you are without them. When you lose what you thought defined you, you begin to discover what actually does. So when everything falls apart, maybe it's not destruction. Maybe it's disclosure. Maybe life is showing you what's real by burning away everything that isn't. Scene: fire turns to still water. The Stoics would remind you, the calmest man in the room is not the one untouched by chaos. He's the one who's been through it, again and again, until he realized nothing external can truly shake him. Calmness is forged in suffering. It's built by watching yourself break and realizing you survived. When you lose control, when everything slips through your hands, when you have nothing left, that's when you meet yourself. And that's when you understand that the world can fall apart, but you don't have to. Scene: gentle piano music, soft voice. There's a story of a Zen master whose hut burned down. The next morning, as the smoke cleared, he looked up and said, "Now I can see the moon more clearly." This is not about denying pain. It's about seeing beauty even in its aftermath. It's about finding light not because the world is kind, but because you've chosen to keep your eyes open, even when it isn't. Scene: contemplative pause, slow visuals of sunrise, rebirth. The final Stoic lesson is this: calmness is not learned in peace, it's earned in chaos. It's not something you acquire, it's something you become through the fire. So when everything falls apart, don't just ask, how do I survive this? Ask, what part of me is being reborn through this? Because maybe what you're losing isn't meant to stay. Maybe the collapse is the beginning of clarity. And maybe calmness isn't the absence of pain, but the quiet confidence that no pain can take away who you truly are.